Church of St. Augustine is a 17th century structure, believed to be built by the Augustinian friars, but today, mostly seen in ruins. This ruined church complex, which was once the biggest church in Goa, located near nunnery of Santa Monica in Oldgoa. This partially collapsed St. Augustine Tower is one of the most amazing monuments in Old Goa. This archaeology site is about 12 kilometers away from Panaji, the capital of Goa, and it is the part of World Heritage Sites in Goa. The 46 meters high tower served as a belfry and formed part of the elevation of a magnificent church, attached with a monastery of Augustinian friars. It was built in the top of the Monte Santo, the holy hill at Vela, Goa. The tower and church were built in 1602 by the Augustinian friars who arrived in Goa in 1587. The tower, which still stands, is built of laterite. This great structure stands 4 stories high. It was intended as a belfry. The ancient bell that once resided there has since been moved, first to the Fort Aguada and more recently to Our Lady of Immaculate Conception Church at Panaji, where it remains till today. The original Church of Our Lady of Grace once contained 8 chapels, 4 altars, and had a convent attached to it. Upon entering the church, there was a high altar backed by a richly carved retabule, the whole structure being supported by soaring pillars, the vestiges of which remain visible today. This complex was built by the Augustinian order. It comprised the Church of Our Lady of Grace, the Convent of St. Augustine, the College of Populo, and the Seminary of St. Guillermi. The church is dedicated to Our Lady of Grace. Its construction was started in 1597 and was completed around 1602. Originally comprising of 4 towers and a massive vault. The dimensions of this superb edifice placed it on par with the great imperial cathedrals of the Renaissance era. Here we can see the rectangular well which was used to collect fresh water to serve the inmates of the church. The dilapidated but splendid tower of the church can be seen from a distance. And one can gauge the grandiosity of the monastery when it was completely intact. Though most of the church complex is in ruins, it is considered worth a visit for people interested in archaeology and ruin sites. The immense vault of the church collapsed in part due to its weight, and the nave of the church is now open to the sky. There was also an immense choir loft, capable of holding a large chorus of monks. The convent was built on 3 levels, and once contained 2 cloisters, numerous corridors, pillars and galleries, the remains of a refectory, i.e. dining hall, guest house and infirmary, all of which were very spacious, have also been found. It also had vast dormitories and numerous cells where the monks spent their day-to-day lives. In 1835, the Augustinians were expelled from Goa, and as a result, the church was abandoned. In 1846, the main vault of the church collapsed, and the convent rapidly decayed. Of all the majestic buildings that once stood here, all that is left to see today is the belfry of the tower that soared 150 feet high. An old tale recounts how the vault of the church was problematic to construct, and in fact fell down twice whilst being erected. The third time that it was put up, the architect, to show his confidence in his design, stationed his only son within the church, and ordered that a cannon be fired at the structure. Fortunately, his confidence was not misplaced, and the structure held. There is little that can be seen today of the gracious and imposing church and monastery which once stood at this site. However, it is still considered worth a visit. Clambering over the old ruins causes one to reflect on the passage of time, and its vagaries.